Hi friends! It's been a long time since I've made videos, and since I'm pretty consistent with vlogs, I thought I would do a vlog style informational video. So this video is going to be about red flags for gigs. So for those of you who are just starting or can't read red flags, here are some warnings to gigs, especially dance gigs or entertainment gigs, and red flags through my experience, my personal experience and opinions. This is not legal advice. As I get ready for a show, I will just talk and tell you guys my experience. Okay, first red flags I would say is not giving enough details. Guys, so details is the first one I want to talk about because it is one, the most important for you to do a great job at your gig or career, and two, sometimes it's really hard to get. So sometimes you don't get details right away, or all the details you need are not provided due to the speed of how the gigs have to be done. So throughout this whole entire video, be aware who you're working with. If it's somebody brand new that you've never met, this is your first time working with them, it's really important to get all the details: location, time, job description, makeup, hair, how do I need to come, what do I need to do, what will they provide, what will they not provide, when I'm getting paid, when can I expect the payment, etc., etc. These things are super important. If you ask these questions, the details, and then they get upset, that is a big red flag. Because in no other jobs will you ask a question and an employee would get mad. How long is our breaks? Do we have paid vacation? As dancers and entertainers, we're not even asking deep questions. We're asking basic questions so we can put our best foot forward into this gig. So if they get upset, that's a red flag. It shouldn't be an emotional question. It's just business. Another red flag. If somebody gives you a low rate or maybe no rate at all, and they use the terminology, it's great exposure, that's a red flag. This terminology, great exposure, they just use too much and they use it on you for years. And you're like, how many years of exposure do I need? And usually when they say exposure, it means they're not going to pay you, unfortunately. Depending on the relationship you have with this employer of yours, they don't know what experiences you already have. They don't know what chapter of your professional career you are in. If you are at a point in your life where you need exposure, okay, but make sure you get that exposure and you move on, because the more dancers, entertainers say yes to these free exposure, free gigs, non-paid gigs, the more our rates go down, in my opinion. Okay. Let me explain why I think the rates go down when we accept these for exposure jobs. I think it's because the standards go down. There's a lot of opportunities for dancers to be able to perform for free, whether it's a charity show or a school performance. I don't know, there's several things. But when other industry people who hire the dancers don't understand how much work it takes to do what we do professionally, and they just think they can get any dancers for a very cheap price or free, that's when the rates stay low. Yeah, you can take these gigs, but think about you 10 years down the road. Think about all your peers 10, 20 years down the road who are in the same position and we're getting treated the same. I remember when I first started dance. My mom, who was a dancer, she looked at my rate and she was like, oh my God, that's the same rate I got 25 years ago. And mind you, this was when I first started, when I was like, I don't know, maybe 18, I'm not sure. But now, what are we, 25? And maybe because of the pandemic, I don't know, but the rates are still the same 10 years ago. And that's crazy. So my point is, just be careful. It's a red flag when someone says, great exposure. Now, some tips if you are being asked to perform for exposure or whatever. The first tip is just say no thank you. Maybe express to them that you have been dancing for a very long time and unfortunately right now you're only looking for paid jobs, or you can just say I'm not available. Honestly, that's sometimes clear, no reason needed, just say no thank you. Another tip is maybe you do need exposure or you really want to work with this production, choreographer, whatever the case is, because you want to network. You can tell them, yes, I'm available, but make sure you clarify, communicate the details of rehearsal, of what exposure means, where this footage or performance is going to happen, so that you're protecting yourself and so that it's worthwhile for you and it makes sense for you. Another red flag is a gig or job with no contracts. I understand if it's somebody you know and trust and have worked with for years and it's last minute, you have built a rapport with this person, okay, you trust them. But if you don't know these people, this is your first time working with them, you better get a written contract and please read it. Of course, for a one-off, I wouldn't go super deep into the contract. For a big contract or a contract where there's risks involved, maybe it's dangerous, make sure you have a contract. I've had people say, this text message is a contract. No, it's not. Why would you need a contract? Don't you know who I am? Don't you trust me? No, I don't. I don't know who you are. It doesn't matter. It's to protect myself. If you have an agent, use your agent to protect you. If not, choose your battles. You can't always get what you want, especially when you're just starting and you don't know who to trust. But if you are experienced, don't work without a contract. something could go wrong. And then what? What do you fall back on? So no contract is another red flag. Tips when you want to do a gig with no contract. Again, this is a tip if you want to do it. Clarify what the job is when you're getting paid. If those two things are pretty clear and maybe they have other people who can vouch for them, then you might be safe to go about this job, but just have no expectation, going with an open mind that payment might be late. Again, this is not a legal advice, but I did get a lawyer once tell me that emails are a little bit more solid than text messages. Definitely verbal promises and verbal communications will not go in court at all. So if you are communicating with someone who has no contract for you, try to communicate via email, have it written. Let's say you had a conversation on the phone informally, because it's all informal because you have no contract. You can email them back and say, hey, per our conversation, I just want to clarify the job description are listed out, and that I can expect payment by this day, or the rate is this day, and my job is whatever, what you said. And just clarify that on email, and then I think that's the best you can do. And just enjoy the gig. Red flag for people who are in a consistent job, like a residency show, any show that's ongoing. I do not care how long you've been in that show. If your company misses a pay, do not continue working for them. That's illegal. Your paycheck bounces, or they skip a pay or something like that. It's a red flag to the show either closing or they have no money and they're not telling you. My suggestion would be just stay in communication. Hi, when can I expect this payment? And if they don't give you a date, red flag, so many red flags. If they haven't paid, they skip the pay, something happened, and they're not telling you why, or they're not giving you information when you will get a payment, you should stop working. Once you get an answer or once you get a payment, then you'll continue working. I had to do this at other places because they were so late. I think it was like rehearsal pay. And we waited till they gave us cash. Things happen. Whenever it feels weird, protect yourself because there's a reason why you feel this. Like what's going on feeling. Okay, so for tips, 1, communicate, be patient, don't attack because you don't know what's going on yet and you want to keep a good relationship. Communicate and say, hey, it seems that I'm missing a payment. Can you tell me what's going on? Can you give me a day when I can expect this payment by? Things like that, because sometimes it's just a miscommunication or something like a glitch happened. But just communicate, get that date of when you can get paid by. And then if you get paid by that date that they communicated to you, I think you're safe to continue. But if there's no date clarification for when you'll get that skipped or delayed payment and or just no communication at all, you can politely refuse to come to work. Just say, hey, I'm so sorry. I've been trying to communicate, but no one is getting back to me about what's going on with the payment. And unfortunately, I can no longer afford to continue this job without payment, so I'm going to pause coming into work or doing this gig until further clarification is given and or the missing payment is given in a professional way. I think that's the best thing to do instead of staying. And if they give you an emotional reason but no clarification to why you should stay and continue your job, I don't think you should stay. So just be clear, patient, and tell them why you can't continue and or just clarify when you can get paid. And move on from there. Good luck. Here's an interesting red flag. This might be relatable for those of you who might end up teaching or choreographing. If they ask you for the rate and you give them a rate, we all have to know there's space for negotiation, right? But instead of negotiating professionally, they just, again, either give you an emotional reason why it should be cheaper, it's super expensive, whatever, or they belittle you, like where they just start criticizing you. I can't believe your rate is so high. I've had people say, if that's the rate, I would have hired a professional. What? So you're hitting me up because you thought I was an amateur? That was insane to me. I was like, we don't have to do business, sir, ma'am. Just know if you give a rate and they come back with belittling you, criticizing you about your ability and your professionalism, that is a huge red flag. And I want you to know most clients who try to cut your budget on what you said for way lower, they are going to be the most pain in the booty clients than the ones who are like, okay, yeah, that's your rate, I'll pay. I heard this on another podcast and I was like, that is so true. Not everyone's going to pay the amount you want, whatever, but you can have a professional conversation about it. I've noticed that the people who are willing to pay the price you gave them or kindly, professionally negotiate, those are the people you want to work with. Okay, tips for rate slashers. Again, number 1 thing to do is, I'm sorry, this is my rate. Thank you so much for considering me, but
no thank you this time. Another thing you can do is practice your negotiation skills. Be like, okay, for this rate, I can provide this and that instead of the whole package. And that's a great way for you to negotiate and figure out what they really need and how much you can give for that rate they're offering. And then just triple check that your contract is there and your payment is there, and then you can move forward. Again, we're all in different parts of our lives. Sometimes we need these jobs. So just be super clear and detailed about your job description, what you're providing. Because sometimes these people who slash your rate continue to add things on. So yeah, just make sure the job description is clear, you have your contracts, and negotiate.
Another red flag. There's a lot. It's fine. Another red flag is if somebody you work for gives you crap about working for someone else, maybe because it's competition. If you're not exclusive, you're not exclusive. Oh no! It's the only one I have. So, anyways, yeah, exclusivity. It works in some cities. Some cities it doesn't, but be mindful that everybody has drama in every industry. And if you're not a full-time employment for that company you're working for, you should be able to work for other people. It's this, I don't want to say power trip, but this possessiveness that people think that they own you. If they think they own you, it's a higher likelihood that they're going to manipulate you emotionally to only work for them. And then if you only work for one company, production person, whatever, then you'll never know the competition if there's a better rate, better opportunity for you.
So an interesting tips for freelance jails is to make sure you put yourself in a position where you don't need to work for one company, one person. So make sure you're diversifying your job and that you put yourself in a position where you can work for multiple people. I know it's great to work for one company, they get to know you, whatnot, and if that's your trajectory with this company, amazing. If you already know that the people you're working with tends to be possessive in any way, try to keep a distance, I would say, and always show appreciation. Because I feel like sometimes when people act possessively, it's because they think they helped you a lot and maybe that you're not showing enough gratitude. So I think I would just say give gratitude, be patient, and diversify your work position so that you're not stuck with one person. And maybe someday, out of your own control, your bridges will burn. Maybe you did something wrong, you had no idea, or whatever happens, at least you have a plan B or something to fall back on instead of this one company that you've been working for this whole time. So yeah, diversify, be grateful, have a great communication and great relationship to your best abilities.
This is an interesting red flag I just thought about. When there is no space for you to grow within that company, I'm going to say it's a red flag from the universe, guiding you in a different direction. Let's keep it positive. If you've been in one place and you feel like you're not growing mentally, technically, skillfully, financially, whatever, and then you figure out a way to grow yourself and you ask the employer, hey, I would really like to grow and I'm wondering if there's space for this growth. If they're like, yeah, that sounds great, and then like months down the road nothing happens, they either don't care or they didn't listen, or sometimes you're so valuable to the company exactly where you are, whatever your job description is, they don't want you to leave.
So what do I mean by your position is more valuable where you are, exactly where you are, than where you want to be? Let's say you're in a show and you are a swing. You know all the tracks in this choreography number, in this entire show, all the tracks, there's several of the tracks. You're so good at it, but you're getting base pay and you ask for a raise or you ask, can I learn the lead role? Or can I become full-time because maybe you're part-time swing? For the company, you're more valuable as an on-call swing or a swing paid less than a full-time track, one person's choreography track, than somebody who knows everybody's tracks. So they're not going to want you to move your position. In that case, you can ask for a raise. Tell them, hey, I know everybody's tracks. I am a value to this company. I think I've showed it to you. Things like that, and ask for a raise. And if they say no to your raises, you can say, how can I show the company so that I can make sure I get a raise next year if you're planning on staying, etc., etc.
I would say put yourself in a position where you can leave without burning any bridges in a good way so that you can continue growing.
Now, how do you put yourself in a position where you can leave without burning any bridges? Again, great way to negotiate. If you think there's positions in the show or the job that you're in that you can grow, state it to them. Let them know, hey, these are the positions I want to learn, or these are the raises I want in order for me to continue growing. And let them know, I would like this by the next contract, or when do you think I can try this position by? And what can I do to make sure I can get this position? If they're in good communication with you, you can expect this, which is awesome to look forward to. And if they're not in communication with you or they're not giving you good responses, start auditioning for other jobs or other gigs, or maybe you get a part-time job so you don't have to be there all the time, and let them know, hey, I got an offer from this other job. Now you have something, and say, I would love to stay here if I can grow in this company by these reasons, whatever the raise or the different position, or say, if these opportunities are not available for me, I think I can no longer grow within this company and I would like to move on to this show, whatever. And just make sure you leave in a good, timely manner, give them enough time so they can replace your position, things like that, instead of attitude, because you never know if you're gonna work for these same people on another job years down the road. So always keep good relationships.
Number, I don't even know, is when you get a gig and they add stuff after we've agreed, such as, here's rehearsal footage, please learn on your own. Guess what? That rate you agreed on didn't calculate the rehearsal time that it takes. If these are people who are going to give you work years down the road, okay, cool. If you don't know, I know there's a lot of flash mobs and massive projects where they need a lot of bodies and they don't have the finances to pay everyone, so they send you videos. I understand this. I guess it's a tiny red flag, not a big one.
This is a little extra for performance for exposure. There are performances where they ask you to pay. I have never experienced this, but there are exposures like that. Now, I'm not talking about amateur dancers who are experiencing performances, they're learning from an instructor, and you are on a journey of learning, then they are creating opportunities for you to perform and you need to pay the instructors. I understand this makes sense, but if you're a professional dancer looking for work and then they ask you to pay for you to perform, why would this happen? I have no idea. Red flag. Leave. Don't do it. This is my last bonus red flag, is when they are pushy about sexy outfits, especially for my females, but I'm sure it happens to all spectrum of people. Clients or people who want to book will tell you you're doing burlesque or you're going to be sexy or whatever, and they're not clear. Again, details. And then you show up to the gig and they're like, oh, this is what you're wearing. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to have my bare out in this video that is going to be all over the world, and you have to put your foot down and be like, I'm so sorry, this is not what I signed up for, or oh, this is the outfit that I brought, this is what I'm wearing. And if they're still pushy, you can just say, hey, you know what, it seems like this job is not for me, there's a miscommunication. Or if there's already a contract signed, you can be like, hey, this is not what we agreed upon, can we figure out something else that I'm more covered, I don't feel comfortable. It's nice that I feel like we're in an era where people are more respectful about comfort, so make sure you just verbalize and communicate. Okay guys, that's all the red flags that I could think of for today. It was quite of a long video, I think, but I hope it was informative and it's helpful. If you know people who are just starting out in the industry, please share so that they have this information to protect themselves and to be knowledgeable about what they're going into. And thank you so much for watching the video. Please subscribe, please like, comment below if you have any thoughts, any comments, or any additions to what we should be looking out for as professional entertainers, dancers, choreographers, all those things. Thank you so much for your time. It takes me a lot to edit this video, so your like and subscription really is appreciated. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.